there was never thought in my mind as a young man growing up that I'd be able to own a sports company, a franchise, a team. Like
Sure.
that was something that was totally out of reach for people in my neighborhood and
Yeah.
people like me. I own a sports league. I just thought, man, wouldn't it be great to give other people opportunities to own not only a sports franchise, but own a piece of a league that normally wouldn't have those opportunities, right? And so equity crowdfunding became available, which allows non-accredited investors. It means you don't have to have $1 million in the bank. You don't have to be accredited through the SEC to invest into a company. And those are the people that I want to give the opportunity to own this league, right? Those are my fans. Those are former fighters. Those are coaches. Those are gym owners. They're veterans. Those people that aren't SEC accredited with millions of dollars. Let's give them an opportunity to own a piece of a sports business, and not only a franchise, but the league.
Jesse, you're the founder of Elite Amateur Fight League, man. Thank you again for taking time and joining me for a second time on my podcast, man.
Man, I love your podcast. Love being here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Man, like I said, we spoke last June for the Top Rated MMA show. It was like right in the middle of this whole COVID thing, of course, which essentially put a halt to all live MMA events, at least until the end of 2020. You started to kind of see them pop in and out. But how did that COVID affect you guys in the EAFL for the rest of 2020 since we last spoke?
Yeah, man. Well, it's affecting everybody in different ways, but it's affecting everybody, right? When you have a big broadcast deal like the UFC, you're able to have an event and not worry about ticket sales.
Totally.
But for guys in my position where ticket sales are probably, 40% of the revenue stream, it's hard to have a live event and be profitable without having fans in. And I think that's been the biggest change for us is we really had to adapt. We had to figure out, all right, how do we have events and not lose money, to make sure that we continue to operate as a business. And it's all about content and content sales and broadcast deals. And we've researched everything, or not that we've researched it, but we've been involved in talks with everything from OTT platforms. We've talked, all the way through ESPN and DAZN and all these guys that have these platforms to host events. And so the silver lining behind this whole thing is we probably don't have those conversations. If COVID didn't happen, we would have just continued along our ticket sales model, looking for a broadcast deal in the future. But the COVID situation made us look for a broadcast deal now, and it's really helped.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. And obviously you guys have sponsorships. How did they react to the lack of events? I mean, obviously they probably understood, but that does affect kind of the money. Were they continuing to pay for sponsorships even through the year when you guys weren't doing events?
Well, with sponsorships, all of our sponsors were event-based, right? So if we were having an event, we'd sign a sponsorship contract with somebody, and then we would put out content to engage their marketing goals.
Yeah.
And without events, it's tough to re-sign sponsors. And on top of that, man, this whole sponsorship scenario is basically shuttered, right? They don't want to take the risk in sponsoring things that may not happen.
Yep.
And so we couldn't really honestly give anybody a full season schedule. So it's tough to close sponsorships when you can't tell them we have events on A, B, C, and D date, for them to really commit. And I understand that, and they're partners of ours. So I wasn't trying to force anybody's hand or make anybody pay for something that wasn't 100% locked in.
Yeah.
So, with our sponsors and with our partners, we took the route of, let's guarantee things for them so that they're comfortable. And so we had to really pass off our sponsorships until we knew we were going to have events, or until we knew we had broadcast dates. And with that being said, we have a huge line of broadcast dates lined up on NBC Sports Regional Network, so we can give our sponsors the opportunity through 320 air dates, 1,280 commercial placements to reach a broad band of fans across 8 NBC Sports Regional Networks across the country. So, with that, we know those are happening because those events are in the can.
Yeah.
We know they're produced, and we know they'll be on television. So that's really where our sponsorship's geared towards right now, is the broadcast end of what we do.
Gotcha. And, and we're 2021. It seems like events are starting to pop back up every once in a while here and there. you guys have season 4 coming up. What does that season 4 look like? Are you guys going to be doing any traveling, or are you guys going to kind of host that one location like you were maybe thinking of before and then flying folks in?
Well, season four's changed considerably about 5 different times
Right?
between the
Sure.
start of COVID and now, right? So
Yeah, totally.
it seems like it changes every 2 months, our plans.
Yeah.
But, we have to adapt. We have to make it work. Initially, all of our seasons, we've always had a home team, right? We've had
Yeah.
Illinois fight in Chicago against Indiana. We had Virginia fight against Florida and Virginia. And that's kind of our model, is to go to where we have a home team to draw on the fans and bring a visiting team to compete.
Yeah.
And during this COVID thing, the fact is all these states operate on different levels. One
Totally.
state says you could have an event. One state says you could have one, but no fans. Another state says you could have one, but only 20 people could be in a room at a time, right? So they're all very different.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to travel and have the same product in every location, it's not going to happen,
Yeah.
right? So then we thought, well, let's bring everybody to one location that we know we can operate out of, and that's great. But let's be honest, MMA fans in Florida don't care if California is fighting Arizona and Fort Lauderdale,
Totally.
right? So there's no ticket sales, even though you can sell tickets in Florida at this time. So we have to really have a broadcast deal in line for us to make money on that type of event. So that was the initial switch, was let's go to one place. And then we started breaking the numbers down, and we were even ready to commit to doing it as long as we had good sponsors, and we had sponsors involved that were willing to do it. But it just, the model seemed a little flawed with the fact that there wouldn't be local interest.
Yeah.
So then we thought, well, let's find a couple places that are operational, where we can have a Midwest event, a Southern Conference event, a West Coast Conference event, and kind of bring those 4 teams into their region. And that'll help us with travel costs. It'll build up some fans, in those regions that possibly commit to come to the show. And that's kind of where we are today. I think we're going to have 3 different regions this year. We're going to bring all the teams in those regions to those locations. But we have the same story, right? We don't know that those states are going to allow us to have events when they're scheduled, other than Florida. All the other states are iffy. I know Iowa's allowing events, but I've heard that, through the grapevine, that they may be shutting down. Wisconsin, Indiana is allowing permits, but the last permit that was issued didn't happen. So that may not happen there. Arizona is open again, but may be closing. Like there's all these maybes.
Yeah.
So the real opportunity right now is probably having a live event in Florida that's not tournament based, meaning
Gotcha.
we're going to build Team Florida with Team Florida fighters that are going to fight their way in to be on Team Florida. And that way everybody's local. We don't have to worry about traveling people in, and these guys fight their way in. It's no longer just going by record, because as you know, in MMA, records sometimes are a little padded. You've got a guy that's 7-0 and has had 7 30-second fights against guys he should beat, and another guy that's 5-3, but he's fought everybody tough in his division. The 7-0 guy isn't always necessarily better. So to give them a fight in scenario, I think really strengthens Team Florida, right? We're going to get the best guys because they're going to fight their way in, and we'd like to use that model across the country.
Man, that's so rad. I think that's amazing concept. I think people need to, I'm hoping that people the states open up and allow these MMA events. I know here in Idaho, they're telling us, hey, you can't have over 50 people. I've heard of possible, larger things happening later, but then if I go out into town right now, nobody's wearing a mask. We're like, what's COVID? Costco out here is the only place that requires a mask. And we're like, whatever, man, we're just going to keep rocking and rolling. And literally there's very few people that wear masks in this area and really takes it serious. Even though there is a mandate in town that they're supposed to be enforcing. The police officer came out and said, yeah, we're not enforcing nothing. So it's there's definitely those states that some are overly cautious. Some are laid back, like maybe us or Florida. And then you got those ones that are well, maybe if you do this, put 20 people, as a business owner, what's going through your mind, man? We're can we just get this together, man? How do you get through those days, man?
It's tough, man. It's super tough for guys in my position that don't have an ESPN deal, right? Yeah. Just because the amount of cost that regulations place upon a business just to operate in this current environment, it's going to cost me probably a third to even, God knows how much. Depends what state we're in. What state we're talking about. It could be double the amount to have an event in a certain state. And some states have less regulation, and it'll cost nearly the same with a little bit extra cost for COVID testing. But it's tough from the business perspective to really plan anything because it
Yeah.
changes so often.
Yeah.
You can lock in a date and a venue and even pull an event permit, and that event permit can go away really quickly, right? If things change or the
Totally.
numbers change in that area, down to the county. Like it's not even just the states.
Yeah.
Some of these counties are locking down. And let's say we booked in a county that all of a sudden is a COVID hotspot. It's in the red, and they say, "Hey, I know you pulled an event permit. I know you booked a venue. I know you flew everybody here, but guess what? You can't have your event." And so there's just a ton of
Man.
risk in operating in this current time,
Yeah.
and it's tough for guys like me to to get through this.
Man. One of the things I love about your guys' league is you actually allow people to become an owner. Like literally, people can own part of your league, man. This is so rad. And for those who don't know about this, what's that process look like? How can they get involved and become an owner of EAFL?
Yeah. So one of the goals I had is me. I'm a South Chicago born kid. Grew up in we it didn't start as a poor neighborhood. Then the steel mills shut down,
Okay.
and the whole neighborhood loses their job. And we end up going from a middle class neighborhood to a poor neighborhood. And I didn't see the opportunity in those neighborhoods until I joined the Marine Corps and saw the rest of the country and the
Yeah.
rest of the world and how things were. I was kind of confined to my little small pocket of Chicago. And so I always grew up being an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur mindset. And there was never thought in my mind as a young man growing up that I'd be able to own a sports company, a franchise, a team. Like
Sure.
that was something that was totally out of reach for people in my neighborhood and people
Yeah.
like me. And you know, through turn of events and life experiences, I was able to work my way into this scenario where I own a sports league. And I just thought, man, wouldn't it be great to give other people opportunities to own not only a sports franchise, but own a piece of a league that normally wouldn't have those opportunities, right? And so equity crowdfunding became available, which allows non-accredited investors, means you don't have to have $1 million in the bank. You don't have to be accredited through the SEC to invest into a company. And those are the people that I want to give the opportunity to own this league, right? Those are my fans. Those are former fighters. Those are coaches. Those are gym owners. They're veterans. Those people that aren't SEC accredited with millions of dollars. Let's give them an opportunity to own a piece of a sports business, and not only a franchise but the league. And so we really dove into this equity crowdfunding regulation CF. Found WeFunder, which is a SEC approved website that allows you to legally raise money and offer equity to this type of investor. Our minimum investment's $300, right? It's not thousands of dollars. You don't have to have $1 million in the bank. We don't require you to buy 20%. Like you can invest in this company for as little as $300, own equity in a national televised mixed martial arts league, and become an owner. Like I don't know that there's another league in the country that allows you to do that. And,
Right.
and we're really proud. We're one of, we're probably one of few in the world that allow that.
Man, that is so cool. And definitely people need to jump on that for sure. Curious, like because you've been running this for a while, like through COVID, did you see a drop in investors or an increase in investors like trying to step up and help you guys through that? Or, where did you see that investor side of things go during this COVID lockdown?
Yeah. So early on, when we launched, it was January of 2020,
Okay.
right? So right before the shit hit the fan,
Of course.
and we raised an immediate like $50,000 pretty darn quickly.
Yeah.
And then the COVID happened. People started, having to not work and regulations shutting down jobs, and it really slowed down during the COVID timeframe.
Mm,
Uh, while the investment slowed down, the interest never slowed down. We were getting
right.
tons of questions, tons of man, that sounds great. When does the round close? I want to make sure I'm in a good position for myself to be able to invest. Everybody was hoping to get back to work and hoping to have more money, and no one knew when this thing was going to end or how long it was going to go.
Yep.
So the interest was always there, but the investment slowed down.
Gotcha.
And so, we raised all the way through January of 2021 this year. And and then we shut the investment down. And we did pretty well. We're at about $100,000 of investment. Uh, I think 120 something investors during that time frame. And we were going to close it. And then we started getting emails. Hey, I still want to invest. Things are turning around. Like the people that couldn't invest back then
Yeah.
are going to be able to invest now.
Yeah.
And so we decided to open the investment back up. But on top of that, we realized for us to have some longevity, we also needed to carry some serious investment.
Yeah.
So we also launched ourselves on a platform that has accredited investors, along with our opportunity to offer the opportunity to non-accredited investors, right?
Yeah.
So we're raising on both for both accredited investors and non-accredited investors. If you wanted my preference, I'd rather have 1,000 non-accredited investors give me $1 than one accredited investor give me $1,000. And that's just, and accredited investors, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. I want fans to own it. I want fighters to own it. I want veterans to own it. I'd love this to be a fan-owned sports league, and that's what we are. And we're just real happy with what we're doing.
What are you seeing in regards to like marketing the league right now and marketing this opportunity to own the league? Are you doing this on Facebook or just on website, or is it word of mouth? There's a new app called Clubhouse if you haven't been on there, but the Clubhouse is amazing too. And I've seen a lot of awesome things happening through that app as well.
Yeah. So mainly through social media.
Okay.
And the problem, being is normally we get a lot of word of mouth and a lot of industry talk about what we're doing, because we'd be having live events month over month, and it would just organically grow inside the industry, into the fan base, and then through broadcast. But because we're so limited on what we can do with live events, that organic growth has been slow. So we've turned to social media to really get the word out there. And that's, we're, plus our air dates of our past seasons on NBC Sports Regional Networks, those help.
Sweet.
But once we get up and running and really have a season planned and solid dates, we know we need to spend more money on marketing. We're going to get out there and market it a bit more. But we need to make sure we have a full tank of gas to get to the end.
Totally.
And so we're being smart with the money we have to run the league. We're going to continue to grow organically. We're going to continue to market, but on a modest level, to make sure that we're along for the long haul. It's my duty to my investors to make sure this thing's successful. And if I go and empty the tank now, we're just not going to make it to the end.
Right. Yep. And definitely that's one of the unique things that you guys do out there compared to anyone else that's doing this sort of tournament style amateur fighters. And I haven't seen many out there.
Nobody's doing tournament style national amateur fighting except for us.
Yeah. I was going to say, cause I was trying to think, I was like, I don't know if I've ever come across anyone else doing a tournament stuff like that. So I just think what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. And, it highlights so many awesome up and coming fighters, and even fighters that have gone through your league. I've had on my show now as professionals and now being very successful. And they talk nothing but amazing stuff about how you guys treated them and how you guys do things. And so it just props to you, man, for doing this thing. I think it's awesome.
We're really proud of those athletes. And so one thing that we do different that I'm going to tell you no other regional or amateur promoter does is you'll notice that promoters will post about a guy or a poster or mention a guy when they're about to fight in their organization, and mainly to sell tickets to their show, right? That's why they post. That's not what we do. Our goal is further than that. We've got guys that have fought for us who've moved on to other opportunities in the professional ranks and even other amateur events. And we'll continue to promote them, regardless if it's selling a ticket to my event or not. My job is not to just sell tickets to my event. My job is to promote the fighter, help him grow his fan base, help him be a legitimate professional so that he has more value when he becomes a pro and goes to the pro leagues. That's truly what our goal and what our job is. As a promoter, we actually promote our fighters. We just don't promote our events. We promote our fighters. And we're really, if you look around, we're the only ones promoting a guy outside of our event. Most of these guys are promoting only for their event. And I think that's what sets us apart. And that's why you hear a lot of good things from the fighters that have competed for us before. It's because we don't stop, man. We do our own podcast with these guys. We make sure we grow their fan base. In 2020, as bad as the fight market was, we had alumni fighters fight during that time frame. Those guys, our top 10 alumni went 15-0 in 2020. So of course we're gonna get on that. We're gonna promote the hell out of that and do whatever we can to grow their fan base. But people need to know that. It didn't happen in my promotion, but I wasn't shy to say it. I'm just really proud of these talented fighters who put everything on the line that at some point got in the cage for me. That means I should continue to promote for them in the future.
Man, that's so good because you don't see anyone else doing that. Like you said, they all promote just for the event, and rarely do you see anybody say, "Hey, thanks for checking this out," unless it's like, somebody's like, "Hey, he signed his debut to the UFC," but then it's like, okay. But like, yeah, rarely do you see the promotion that you guys do for fighters, even when they're not fighting for a promotion. I just want to give you props for that, man. I think that's really, really awesome.
Thanks.
Last question for you. What are you most excited about right now?
Man, I'll be honest. The most exciting thing we have going on right now is the fact that live sports content is more valuable than ever before.
Yeah.
Right. We all seen the loss of sports content in 2020 and what the fans did, the way the fans supported sports, right? When it came back on TV, everybody watched. The UFC, strong leader in the whole sports industry. I mean, what Dana did was needs to be spoke about. I mean,
totally.
He totally did what he needed to do to make sure that his sport continued to broadcast and to operate, right? Dana just didn't create the UFC. Dana created this whole sport. Like the sport of MMA doesn't exist without a Dana White. And then for him to, basically outplay, outlast the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, for him to be on top of that pile is just a testament to not only the sport, but to what he's doing with it. And so, and what it did is it made MMA a sport that people knew could operate within COVID. It gave us a guideline on how to do it safely. And to host an MMA event, we don't need hundreds of people like they do with Major League Baseball and with football. We can do it with the 20 fighters in house, the 20 coaches that come with them, our broadcast team, and a venue, and then be able to broadcast it out and keep it really, really safe. And that's what Dana, I mean, he's a leader, man. He's led all of us to what we need to do to have a successful, safe live event during COVID. And because of that, now MMA and sports content is more valuable than it was before COVID. And that's what makes me most excited.
Come on, man. That's awesome, dude. Jesse, it was so good to catch up with you, man, and hear what's been going on. And man, it's such an honor to always have you on my show. Looking forward to a continued success with EAFL, man. Keep kicking butt, man. I so appreciate taking the time.
Man, love being here, and stay safe out there, brother.
You as well, man. You as well. Thank you so much for watching the show today. I appreciate it. If you could, please leave a rating and review on our Apple podcast. The link is down below. That helps us get our message out, get the show out, helps us get ranked out there on the Apple podcast. Also, leave a comment below, man. I'd love to know what part of this show made the most impact on you. I respond to every comment on there. And please share this video, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please share it out. We want to make sure that we impact as many people as we can with the guests that come on my show and highlight those guests and what they've got going on, and they're changing the world. So thank you so much for the time. So appreciate it. Have an awesome day.